Dallas Cowboys may have themselves a problem with Aldon Smith, and they may not even know it. Mike Fisher reporting from Frisco, Cowboys bye week. We'll get ready to roll to Minnesota here in the coming days. Cowboys at Vikings, and yes, we will be here, and we will be there. And so will Aldon Smith. And hopefully he'll do it in a way where he brings his, so far, 5 sacks, which leads the club, puts him among the league leaders too, puts him in a position to make his salary vastly different than it is right now. But the stumbling block here isn't about right now. It isn't about Aldon Smith's problems behaviorally, which do seem to be behind him, and good for him, because that was horrible, heinous stuff. That was not funny. That was not a kid goofing around. That was dangerous stuff. And the fact that Aldon Smith has found some answers to that and gotten his life together, forgetting football for a moment, that is fantastic news. That is majestic news. It's great for the Cowboys, and it's great for him. But is it great for the Cowboys long term? Jerry Jones spoke this week on 105.3 The Fan and talked in glowing terms about Aldon Smith as a person and as a player. No problems there. Talked about how much bigger he is than he used to be, and we talked about that all off season after they signed him, that he'd put on 20 pounds of muscle and is V-shaped, whereas at one time in his career he was more lean and slender. He's a big man now, Aldon Smith, and after almost a half decade out of football due to behavioral suspensions, he's also a much more mature person. It certainly seems that way. At age 31, he comes into this NFL after all that time off with the freshest legs of any 31-year-old in football history, probably, and is showing that on the field. I think that he's becoming acclimated more, as all the other players are too, to Mike Nolan's system. That harsh early on criticism of Mike Nolan, I'm not saying it wasn't merited. I think it was merited. He really did try, and this coaching staff did try to stuff too much teaching into too little time. And I think this club paid for it early on. But there can be benefits going forward. Speaking of going forward, Jerry Jones talking about the positives of Aldon Smith, and then talking about the plan to get him re-signed for next year and for the future. And the subject comes up because of the NFL trade deadline and some, frankly, mythology that went on there regarding Aldon Smith. A lot of stories, and we touched on some of these at the time, about how teams are banging on the Cowboys' door to get Aldon Smith. That's not true. That the Cowboys turned down handsome offers on Aldon Smith. That's not true. The two things that did happen, certainly teams called and just kind of kicked the tires on ideas, and the Cowboys declined to go anywhere with those talks. And is one of the reasons because they like Aldon Smith? Sure it is. But another reason, we're told that one team that made an offer, and the only team that made an offer, was for a mid-round pick. Now it's a 7-round draft, so I think we're talking about a 4th or 5th round pick. And I think the Seattle Seahawks were among those teams interested in this. Now think about this logically. Why do I want to take a 5th round pick for Aldon Smith when, if and when I ever lose him, I'm going to get a compensatory pick that probably is in that range? Now look at it from Aldon Smith's side. He saw what happened before here a year ago. He is basically doing again what Robert Quinn did here a year ago. Go rebuild your career in Dallas. Get on TV all the time so people can see you, and go get 11.5 sacks. That's what Robert Quinn did last year. He turned 11.5 sacks and a salary that was like $6 million into a $15 million a year deal in Chicago. That's how free agency works. Very happy for him. Good for him. There was no way that he was going to stay in Dallas after 1 year of being here and give this team some kind of a hometown discount. This isn't his hometown. He spent a year here. It was a year of business to rebuild his career. I think the Joneses are under the impression that Aldon Smith is different from that, and I'm here to suggest that he's not, that it's exactly the same thing. First of all, The people that are pushing on you the idea that he's got a 1 year, $4 million contract should stop it. It's 1 year and $1 million. He gets $1 million. He's on schedule to make $1 million. That's it. If he gets to 8 sacks, he makes another $500,000. So he's got 5 so far. So that's coming. Well, that would bump him up to $1.5 million. But for him to get $4 million, I think the magic number, I think he'd have to get 14 sacks. He'd get bonuses when he gets to 8 sacks, 10 sacks, 12 sacks. And if he gets all the way up to 14, that's when he gets the $4 million. That's not realistic, that Aldon Smith's going to get 14 sacks. He's got 5, and we're halfway through the year. It's also not realistic to think that, oh, look at the favor that we did Aldon Smith. Well, now he's going to owe us and give us a hometown discount. You didn't do him a favor. You paid him $1 million, and it's fair. It was fine, and it's working out. But Aldon Smith gets to look at his paycheck and go, well, you didn't really do me any favors. I mean, you took a chance on me, I took a chance on you, and I was right, and you get to be right. But now I get to go on and build my career however I want to build it, including with a $15 million a year salary if I can get somebody to pay me the way Chicago paid Robert Quinn. The Cowboys aren't going to be in position to pay a 32-year-old defensive end $15 million. That's highly unlikely to happen. That's not going to be their offer. Cowboys probably should have gone to him, Aldon Smith, 2 weeks ago. Probably go to him today and try to feel this thing out and see where they can go with it. But you don't blame him if he says, well, where I want to go with it is where Robert Quinn went with it. And that would essentially ace Dallas out of this. There's something else about this idea. And I think the Jones family does a great job of being connected in its own locker room, probably more than any ownership does. And we talk a lot about the negatives of hands-on ownership and the negatives of the Joneses and their style of management, whatever. But there are positives to it too, and one of them is they understand what goes on in the locker room for the most part. I'm not sure they understand this one. I think they think that Aldon Smith is finding this locker room to be a perfect fit, a joyous place, a winning place, full of commitment. Everybody's all in. We're going to get, and I'm not sure that's true. And I don't want to, as Jerry himself would say, I don't want to get out over my skis here. But I'm not sure the Cowboys management team has collected enough evidence to be able to say that Aldon Smith feels completely bonded, that these are his guys, this is his group, this is his city, this is his team. Now, his agent does live in DFW, and I think that's part of the support system is great. There's no question. He's a get-along guy in a lot of ways. And so there's no question that I'm sure that he's become friends with the Tank Lawrences and the Tyrone Crawfords and other guys like this who always do a good job embracing a new guy when he comes in. I'm not doubting that there's friendships. I'm doubting that the bonds are so strong that Aldon Smith's going to automatically want to be here. The Joneses don't do a very good job frankly, in recognizing the realities of the scene that is before them. They are 2-7. That is not attractive. There's no way that a 2-7 locker room is a fun locker room. Impossible. The practices aren't fun when you're 2-7. The games are fun until you lose another one and go to 2-8. So I would say heads up on this to Jerry Jones and to Stephen Jones, and make sure you're aware of what you're really dealing here with when it comes to Aldon Smith. Not that he's a problem in the locker room, not that he's a problem in the community. Those things seem to be behind him. But you might want to go touch base with some of the leaders in that room. You might want to go touch base with Aldon's mentor on the coaching staff, Jim Tomsula, and get a feel for what he thinks in terms of the chemistry, not just on the field, where the sacks have come and will continue to come, but off the field and in the locker room and on the practice field and then in the boardroom, where ultimately Aldon Smith's real decision is going to be made. The Cowboys paid him basically $1 million with a chance, realistically, to make $1.5 million. That does not buy you loyalty forever. That buys you one season of good, hard work from Aldon Smith. His next season of good, hard work will quite likely be trying to take his salary now of $1 million and make that times 10 or more. And I'm not sure the Cowboys are prepared to do that, and I'm not sure the Cowboys are completely plugged in with what it is Aldon Smith really thinks about being in Dallas, his real purposes for playing with the Cowboys, and his real commitment to this family of the Cowboys versus the Aldon Smith family, which obviously every player who's a free agent, and he will be, has an obligation to think of first. Fish out.